specific moment or a day you remember where all of a sudden your husband went from being, doting and being supportive to all of a sudden now abusing?
Yes, they not a day, but something happened. So, well, they're like now I know what I know, and when I look back, certainly the elements of control and abuse were there from day one. Telling me how to dress. For example, I was forced to wear the hijab right away. Then also telling me like how to behave, and he wasn't really fond of me going out of the house on my own, but he wouldn't really say, "Oh, you're not allowed to go out." It was more like, "Yeah, I don't like it that other people look at you."
And where would you go? Because it doesn't sound
even
like
to
he
the
would even
mall.
let you have friends.
Yeah, even to the mall or anything, right? So like when he'd be at work in the during the day. So, but I didn't see those things as like I saw this thing. Oh, but he loves me so much, and he doesn't want others to look at me, kind of thing. Like it was all wrapped up in all this love and affection, kind of thing. So, but then his parents moved here, and that's when things really changed. So suddenly, like he wouldn't spend time with me. There was a lot of neglect. There was a lot of name calling started, and anger, and I couldn't understand whether it's suddenly he's changed overnight, or I don't know how to be a good daughter-in-law, and that's pissing him off, or what is it? I just couldn't understand. And because we were all living together, it created a dynamic where he felt guilty if he would spend time with me, and his parents would feel somehow ignored. And his mom was a bit of a control freak, so she wanted to have all the authority over everybody. So like it started off with a lot of like neglect and no time, and then eventually it came to a point over the years where I wouldn't even have conversations with him. Anything that I wanted, I would have to tell his mom to tell him, like even if it was diapers for the baby. So that bond and communication broke down, and then all the anger stuff started to come out. Like it started with a lot of verbal assaults, like name calling. You're worthless. You're useless. You're good for nothing. And then eventually evolved like throwing things at me. Like a pen or a bottle, or just flinging a glass of water on me and things like that. And then from there on, punching holes in the walls and in a fit of anger. And every time I just wouldn't understand why or what. It was like I would do something today which would actually make him happy, and then the next week I would do the same thing and it would make him so angry. And like, what do I do? Like, when I would talk to my mom, and initially I didn't even tell them anything, my parents, because I didn't want them to be worried. But eventually when I would talk to my mom or his mom even, because, she was there in the house living with us and she saw everything was happening. And I would be told, just find out what makes him angry and just don't do that. And I'm like, but I don't understand what makes him angry. Like, it's not like I was always trying to find where I'm going wrong. And what is it that is so horrible? Like, is it just me? And then when I would ask him that, why do you treat me this way? Why do you say these horrible things to me? And he was like, because you deserve it. Or if I would say, why don't you respect me? Because you don't deserve respect. Why don't you love me? Because you don't deserve to be loved. And when you hear that on a daily basis, you start believing it. And again, he was my only source of validation and information about me. So I did start believing it. And I went from being this confident teenager to just being a complete hollow shell of myself. I hated the way I looked. I couldn't see myself in the mirror. There were times I went to a point where I was in such a dark place that I wanted to die. I just couldn't find any meaning or purpose, and I just began hating myself, and really believing that I am nothing and I am
You started to believe
worthless.
what he was telling you.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to stress to people is you were basically isolated. You are in a country where you're not from. I'm guessing you didn't make any friends here, or at least anyone close by, because I'm sure that wasn't encouraged. You weren't freely able to move around. I'm sure driving, making phone calls, like even your family, they're not here. So essentially, I'm sure phone calls, you don't get to do them in private.
No.
Like, this is the way that they literally make you so isolated that you only have them.
Isolation is the one of the very first steps of abuse, because if a person has a strong support network around them, then they're likely to be told by other people who love them and support them that no, you don't deserve this.
Or they would notice.
They would
like,
notice,
you're crying,
right?
or
And
you're
and they would come
different.
to your aid. I was not allowed to even go out of the house, talk to anyone, have any friends whatsoever. I learned much later that I actually, one of my cousins came here to Canada, and I was not allowed to even meet with him when he came to our home, and I didn't even know that he came to visit me. I found out about this much later through my mom, that he actually came to see me, and he was not allowed to see me. So this was a way of like absolute control.
And also, I'm sure fear that what if you meet and he notices?
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure physically all that abuse must have taken a toll on you. And
Absolutely.
had
I
someone
lost
seen you.
weight. I was skinny as hell. I was, it showed on my face. And to a point where the first time when I went back to see my family, so after 5 years of marriage, so after all the 5 years of all this abuse, when I went to see my family back in Abu Dhabi, my mom looked at me and she couldn't believe that I was the same girl. She said to me that you look like a ghost. It's like she says it that when she hugged me that day at the airport, like she could actually feel my bones. Like that's how skinny I was, and like completely blank, sort of hollow, ghost-like look on my face. I didn't even know how to smile properly, and you could just like tell. I didn't have any physical bruises at that time because up until then there were a couple of episodes of him hitting me, but nothing that would bruise me. Like there were shoves and kicks and whatnot, but nothing that would actually create marks. But like the whole overall persona that I carried, that like the confidence and the self-esteem and everything was just torn apart to shreds.